Welcome to Rauta's opinion video. This time I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about NSBM or National Socialist Black Metal. I already talked about it quite a bit during my Spring 2020 video where I basically mentioned the general idea what NSBM is nowadays and what it was before nowadays, especially in the 90s and so forth. And during that video I also got a little bit musing and rambling around various side topics, side tracks of NSBM. Now I'm not going to recap the video in case you want to go back and know what I was talking about there. You just watch it first and then come to this one. Basically that video got me a lot of feedback, mostly good, but obviously some people got rather butthurt, which I guess I saw coming because I mean it's a kind of a hot potato topic and very sensitive as such, because I mean we're talking about kind of an extreme type of black metal, and black metal in general is very extreme by nature, so obviously some people got a little bit heated up, but most people were civil, and even though they might not like NSBM, they were kind of understanding where I was coming from and where these bands are coming from, and even if they don't like it, they are not afraid to talk about it, which I think is the only civil way to talk about this subject and kind of get close to it. You know, you don't have to like your enemy, but if you do understand how your enemy behaves, well, it certainly helps your own battle. Now, I had to actually listen to that very video by myself as well before making this video, so I don't repeat too many topics, but obviously because of the topic here is what it is, probably I end up saying a lot of same things in a different ways or from different angles, so forgive me about that. And in case you don't find NSBM attractive or interesting topic at all, well, just click this video off. There's nothing I can really offer you about besides the actual topic. Now, one thing that was kind of pointed to me after the video, that is, was that how black metal has been kind of dangerous since the very beginning. That is, already in the 80s, black metal was already flirting with topics such as the devil, church arsons, and obviously ideas about death and going beyond from this life and all that stuff, witchcraft, the occult, lots of topics which are not that kind of easy for normal Joe or Jane to approach. Basically dangerous topics. Now when politics were brought to this, basically nothing changed, but obviously for many people, usually the apolitical type, were kind of suddenly alarmed. I don't say I was alarmed, but I mean, as an apolitical person, I kind of felt like, nah, this really doesn't, belong here. For instance, I can enjoy Napalm Death's death grind music, but I don't feel the political message too much like something that, hey, I want to go with that. So, once again, the same applies to punk, same applies to NSBM. I'm merely talking about my own perspective. Then again, I understand why people want to do that, because obviously when politics is very close to their heads and hearts, well, it's naturally a topic you want to talk about. And in case people are trying to find a suitable channel for their kind of ideas, be it as extremist as may, and you find metal music kind of tempting to you, and you then go to this extreme metal style, which is already shunned by many peoples, feared by some, disgusted by many, and so forth. Hey, it's kind of a marriage made in hell. What could go wrong if it's already an extreme style of metal and you want to talk about extreme topics? Why the heck not? Now, since black metal has been always kind of a dangerous music, or at least is kind of a genre that is kind of causing this sort of a disgust or whatever, contempt to different people, obviously moving on to this political side shouldn't be a big deal. But obviously it was, because especially during these politically correct times when we're all about, we're all equal and stuff like that. There are no genders, there are no races, there are no colors. We're all just big bunch, one family kind of thing. on this floating ball in space. And then you bring politics of extreme nature to that kind of a stuff. People get upset. So no matter suddenly if all these topics about how people should be killed, murdered, raped, burned, I don't know, places arsoned, suddenly they're like, okay, it's just ordinary business. I mean, it doesn't mean a thing. And then you bring out these serious topics, politics in question. Suddenly people are like, what the hell is going on? Call the police, call the fire department, call social service, call the Mr. President, National, I don't know, Guard. God damn it. And suddenly people are like crazy. Now, this can be a double-edged sword. For some people it's like, okay, I want to back off from this black metal. I don't want to do anything to do with these politically active people, especially the right-wing kind of dude. So they get the fuck out of here. Which is, I guess, okay. But I mean, that's exactly what some bands are after. To drive off, do the sort of a culling of the flock. I mean, back in the 90s when it was all about, well, mostly about satanic topics with the devil, with fight against Christianity and religions in the first place, in general. Back in the days, there were also already these fight against posers and wannabes and who knows what. So when these topics such as Christianity and stuff like that wasn't really causing any reaction. I mean, it was like poking a piece of wood or rock and you're like, okay, there's no reaction. Let's put these Ku Klux Klan hats on, or just start to wear some swastikas, or making statements which are not very politically correct. And suddenly, new pair of ears and eyes are suddenly all wide open. And things get stirred. Shit happens. Reactions are in flames. So suddenly things start happening all over again. It's like as if you are making this big kettle of broth or soup, and you have your kettle maybe a little bit too cool for things to boil, and you're like, okay, this is not edible anymore unless I just, bring up more heat. Boom. Suddenly you add heat. Things start to boil again. It's exactly what's happening. So was NSBM in that manner anything new? Not really. Was it shocking? For sure, and it still is. Maybe even more so during these times of political correctness. And as such, I kind of understand why people, especially those who want to troll, who want to make a reaction no matter what, they're gonna do it. Now obviously, this means that there are basically two different types of so-called NSBM people and bands around. Labels included, but mostly I would say people and bands. The number one type is those who are actively and actually politically radical. They have their radical opinions, they are politically active, and they have their own opinions, be it about different kind of political parties, racial issues, and who knows what. They are the political type who sing about NSBM topics because they are, in fact, politically NS. Now then again, there are these people, these bands, who flirt with this kind of dangerous, radical topics, who play with fire just because they know that they're gonna make it have a reaction. They know that there will be people reacting to this provocation or whatever, these certain symbols, these words, these numbers and word plays even. And they might be something that some people would go as far as to say posers, because they are using the symbols and words and numbers and who knows whatever just to make these reactions happen. They might not be at all interested in politics. Or if they are, they're just gonna say something like, I don't like those immigrants moving here. But that's it. That's the level of politics they can handle. Or care of, that is. They might be more about interested in, drinking booze or getting some groupies on the backstage rather than going really political. I mean, they are not the type of people you're gonna see to apply for a political career or whatever. And I really don't know which one is the worst, to be honest, because I mean, like I said, I don't care politics in my music, but I can live with it. I mean, I can just ignore some of the lyrics and whatever if I like the music. I mean, tunes, melodies, rhythms, patterns, drums, guitars, they don't have political message as such. It's just vibration in the air, basically. But if you start adding lyrics there, I mean words, then it becomes political, if even then. And as such, I can pretty much live with music that has political tone and just ignore it. But can I ignore when people are posers? I mean, when I know it's fake, it kind of starts to annoy me. Let me put it this way. If I had lots of money and wanted to buy a Porsche or Tesla, Ferrari, whatever, and instead someone were to sell me a Chinese copy, but with just some Porsche or Tesla sticker on it, would that feel fake? I mean, yeah, you'd had the name, you had the logo there, but you know, in the end, you're driving a Fiat, you're driving some Peugeot or Renault instead of this real Tesla or whatever. So I know that being fake probably would annoy me more than being for real, being honest about this political thing, even though it might be piss me off or just make me like, I really don't care, I cannot get my kicks out of it. So it's a difficult question. Now, what is also worth mentioning is that when people who are against NSBM or even anti-left, doesn't really matter, when you start labeling different bands and labels and people with these kind of labels, what happens when most of the people are, or most of the bands are labeled as such? I mean, it's easy to fight them and, you know, cancel their gigs when, say, it's like 10% or less. So if we imagine the whole vast field of black metal genre, let's assume 10% of them are sort of radical ones. Let's call them NSBM bands, just with a wide scope. It's easy to say, we don't want those gigs, we don't want those bands here, we don't want that to happen, they're gonna ruin our culture, they're gonna ruin our heritage, we have to be political correct and all that stuff. Yeah, okay, makes a point. What happens when you tune it for 50%? Are you just gonna cancel 50% of the bands just because they might have connections? They might be killed by association. What if it happens to 70%, 80%? Are you just gonna cancel it all? Isn't that what black metal wants to be? Cancelled by the mainstream culture. So once you start labeling enough of people, it will become something that has been said during COVID epidemics. It becomes the new norm, the new normal thing. So instead of these so-called radical bands being a minority, they become the majority. And then, my friends, the people who started to going these labels, like a passport, they will lose this. They will have lost the fight because they are then the minority and they will be pushed instead of being the pushers. So people doing this kind of stuff, this is also as much as for you who are into NSBM as much as who are anti-NSBM. Think about it. On which side you want to go and which terms, which are your agendas you want to pursue and which are not. Are you an NSBM person for real? You want to fight for it. You want to show your symbols, show your colors, your true nature. You want to be that wolf you claim to be. Or you want to just hide in sheep clothing. I don't know. But once you start labeling, be it sheep and wolves, or whatever giraffes you want to call them, think about it. How far are you gonna go? I mean, there are lots of bands who have, say, pagan heritage in their lyrics. They might have folk stories, folk romantic stories about ages past, history, whatever. And gigs get cancelled, even though they are not by any goddamn sense an NSBM band or even related closely to that stuff. They get labeled. So what happens when you start doing that? I think it's a slippery slope, really. And sometimes, to me, it seems that people who are fighting this in terms of being politically correct, they're actually fighting the freedom of expression, freedom of thinking, freedom of saying what out you want. And I know it's there are different sets of schools of philosophy when we go to this kind of a liberty. I mean, some people, this isn't exactly Voltaire, but it was something who was writing about Voltaire, said something around these lines like, I may disagree or even hate what you say, but I will fight for your liberty to do so. And I think that's the basic line what we should have here. But obviously when two sides get way too much into the extreme corner, fight will happen. And I really don't know who will actually win. I very much doubt that metal music, let alone black metal music, will be gone for this. But it means lots of fests and gigs will get cancelled, but also they will go more underground, which then again is kind of a harder thing to find. So it's really, really interesting to see how it goes. But I think false flagging, the false kind of labeling should stop because it's doing no good. Not for the ones who want to fight NSBM, it's not going to do good for people who don't know what it even is. I mean, people who have no idea what NSBM is might just get labeled because of this kind of a false flagging, guilty by association included. And some bands are just gonna get the damage and harm done to them as a kind of a collateral thing because they had no clue. They didn't know that writing about their own history might be get them like guilty of nowadays. Because, you know, we have this habit of rewriting history. It's actually happening right now because in some places it seems like they're kind of taking some statues, you know, off, which used to be there to kind of celebrate certain people and their achievements and whatever. If you start removing all of them, it's just like rewriting the history once again. Now, I'm not saying that people's statues should even be. Really, I don't really care. There's the statues of old people who were died like 1,000,000 years ago. But if you start rewriting history, you're basically claiming that some things didn't happen. And in case of, for the sake of education, for example, that seems to be happening, you're just fooling yourselves and the generations to come. So who will eventually benefit of all that? If we say like Indian massacre in United States of America, that is Native American people, they never got slaughtered. Actually, they never were there. It was all just about European people going to a country where no people whatsoever lived. Happened peacefully. Which good would that do? And then you can apply this example to many other countries being conquered and having people got into bloodshed and whatever. So hiding or concealing your history or cleaning some lyrics because they are not nice isn't doing exactly favor. It's only one step away from burning books. And you remember what kind of people were who were burning books. Exactly. I think this is all about my rant without getting way too lengthy. Once again, I'm more than happy to hear your comments. Some will once again disagree, which is a great thing. Some will agree, which is also a good thing. And some don't have an opinion. But what I hope that you will do before you comment, let those thoughts actually go in for a while. Let them sink into your head. Question what I said. Question what you think. I mean, before you actually type anything, question what your friends and affiliates have said about it. And then when you have finally constructed an idea and an opinion, write it and send it, and then we can have a civil discussion. No point getting just mad and hating people you don't know, especially on the internet. And in case there is some uber stupid troll comments, I will just delete them because they bring nothing good. So don't even waste your time on that. Now, all this being said, I hope you have a great day, whatever your political opinion is, or even if you don't have one. Have a good day, listen to some metal, and let the thoughts sink into your head and then start questioning them. Like I think our friend Nietzsche said, question everything. Have a great day. Here from Rauta. Bye bye.